live. Hello, UK Crime Book Club. We are going to have a barrel of laughs tonight. We have got some. You're going to cause mischief, aren't you?
Yeah, of course I am. It's me.
So, for anyone who isn't familiar with the lovely Alex, this is Alexander Hawley, Alex Hawley, and you've done hundreds of interviews on the UK Crime Book Club, and now I get to do your first online live interview to talk about your own book. So, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much.
And tell us a bit about the book.
Well, it wouldn't have happened without being on UK Crime Book Club because I ended up talking to Rob after being a member of the audience in the Northern Crime Syndicate, and he just got Far From the Tree on audio, and I won it in the competition. And as it was being released on Audible audio first, readers that are used to seeing me will know that I read through audio. I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity because it's not even out in paperback yet. So I'll speak to Rob, and during the preamble that me and Sam do all the time, talking to people, I discovered that Rob helps people write biographies. He didn't tell me who he'd written with, and he still hasn't told me now because he's not allowed to.
It's all under lock and key, that, isn't it? It's not allowed to be discussed. Part of the disclosure, isn't it?
Yeah, but basically that was why it all started. And then we just started talking on Zoom. Yeah.
And obviously your friendships developed hugely. I mean, you already got on great anyway, but you must have, there must be things that didn't go in the book. Are there things that didn't go in the book? Why did I not think that I was going to ask that? Oh, yeah. I'll warn you all. Okay, anyone who's watching, Alex said to me before we get started, we're talking about how we, about interviews and talking to people. And I said, I always ask quite, questions that I think people will find easier to answer, and Alex does not. Alex likes to trick people and trip people up. And I said, from watching Parker, Michael Parkinson growing up, and watching what's the one with the red book that I was just talking about?
This Is Your Life.
This Is Your Life. And I used to love those because you really get to know people and you really get into it. But I feel like I hold that nosiness back a little bit with interviews, but I don't have to do that with you, and you did tell me to say that, so there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Sam's just asked me bizarrely, the screen.
Yeah, I was asking you if there's anything that got left out of the book, because you and Rob have become really good friends. You're good friends anyway, and then through writing this, you can't not develop a relationship when you work that closely with somebody.
Yeah.
So tell me about your friendship. Tell me, did you leave anything out that I can cajole out of you?
Well, we did leave some things out, describing my opinions on disability, because sometimes I can be overly blunt about it and it doesn't go down well sometimes. So we left a couple of those bits out. Obviously, I'm not going to go deeply into it because I don't want to get libelous, but there we go.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just it really difficult for me to even write this book, because as Sam will know, I don't like to talk about being disabled. I don't focus on my disability, and it's not something I overtly talk about. So to have lots of personal stuff in there was hard anyway. Just even bringing the basic normal stuff up was really hard, and it still is really, because I don't like to focus on it, and because of the way that the crime industry treats me, I don't feel like the chair's even there.
No.
It's fine. The chair's not there at all. But in reality, in order to tell people how difficult it really is, I had to open myself up to talking about a lot of stuff that I would normally hide away from, which is a bizarre thing to admit to.
It's not a bizarre thing to admit to, because everyone's got things that they just kind of, it's just part of your life, it's part of your day, it's part of who you are. So it's not something that you think you really want to discuss, and it's quite private for you. So it was a really brave thing to open up, because you're inspiring other people to do the same.
I hope I do, because there's more of us in the industry somewhere. And one of the things I really want to do is make it so that people that are disabled don't feel obliged to write about purely disabled people. Because one of the things that really annoys me is the where's the disabled character in your book thing. Because I've had one person. I've had one person say that about not my books, because I haven't got to the point of writing fiction yet. I've had one person say in a disabled writing community thing that they were told that they were expected to have a disabled character in their book, and I'm thinking, really? I don't think that's necessary, because people will have seen me and Jeffrey Deaver on Twitter. I haven't put it out on the group, but without Jeffrey Deaver writing about Lincoln Rhyme, I wouldn't have seen disabled characters in fiction and known that it was normal to put disabled characters in fiction. And of course, he's an able-bodied 73-year-old man that's been doing it for 20 years. But I've been following him for over a decade, and was there right from when the film came out of The Bone Collector, when he first appeared in Nottingham, and seen him that many times that it's when he sees me, he says, "How are you, Alex?" at the front of the queue. And that's why I'm able to get these people to come and interview with me, because I'm very pushy.
No.
Which you need to be. You need to be to do this job, and you need to be open with people, and you need to make sure that you ask the right questions, but not go too far. Which I've always been too worried that sometimes I might have done, because I'm just about to do my first live event on my own author Facebook page next week, which is going to be rather surreal, because it'd be like building from scratch again, because I've not got the audience size that we've got here on UK Crime Book Club. But I thought, you've done it for 2 years with the UK Crime Book Club, so
exactly,
start from there.
And I actually saw the post in the group today for the link to the interview. So, drum roll. It's the worst drum roll ever. Who is your first interview going to be on your new platform?
It is Heather Critchlow, and it's her debut book, Unsolved.
And it is a fantastic book. And you've been reading it. In fact, of course you have, because that was the point of your review. But will you read it again before Heather comes to prepare yourself, or have you got it firmly stuck in your head?
Well, it will have only have been. I finished it this morning, so I think I'll be okay. Normally, when I'm preparing for a review, an interview, I read the book about 2 days before. But it's really caused some real issues for me when I've been doing the reviewer slot for you for Bloody Scotland, because one of the books I read 6 months before,
and then you have to remember.
Yeah, you know how many books that we read. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it's about between 2 books. Because I've been writing, it's now down to 1.5 books a week. But at one point, it was between 2 and 3 books a week. I mean, are you still going at that rate, Sam, or have you slowed down?
At the moment, yeah, still a lot. You said you wouldn't ask me anything. I knew you were lying.
that's
No,
just
I am. I'm reading quite a
one.
lot,
Yeah.
and the day job is working with books as well. So it's a lot of words. Never been happier. Never been so tired in my life.
Yeah,
But yeah, we have the best of both worlds, don't we?
we do. I mean, that's what it is for me at the minute. But because I'm that far ahead of schedule now, I'm having to slow myself down and working out what I can read for pleasure. Because um, my my um, my latest book, which will be out in summer 2020, summer 2025. The book that I'll be interviewing to end that book doesn't come out until summer next year, so I can't do any more. I can't read the book until it exists because it doesn't exist yet.
Did you hear that sound then when you said that you're so far ahead? That the sound of lots of things hitting screens. Did you hear that? All over the country, people like throwing very soft things at the screens because let's face it, we're a bit bonkers, but we're not complete. We don't want to break stuff. Balled up tissues hitting screens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, people can throw as much as they like because they finished a full length novel and I haven't. These books are hard to write, but because
Yeah.
they're transcribing interviews, they don't take as long as you would think to write, and that's why I've got so far ahead. Because they don't take half as long. But when I get round to writing the full length novel and getting on a course to actually write the full length novel, I will need the 2 year gap I've developed in order to do it, and I still might not have finished the novel by then. Yeah.
Yeah, you are
So
busy. Okay, we forgive you. Everyone, pick your stuff back up off the floor where it's bounced off the screens.
yeah.
I have completely ignored because we were sat talking for a while before we went live. I've just kind of carried on, and now I've realised, oh, there's an audience. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
Fiona Erskine said congratulations. Joe said evening. I'm trying to say Tony Millington, I believe that one is, saying hello. Laura's saying hello. And Joe's got a few. Oh, that's a good question, Joe. So Joe's got questions. Joe, we were talking about you before we went online. I think you're a fantastic interviewer. Joe said, as a renowned book reviewer, how did you find the process of becoming a published author? It's a great question.
Well, that is a really good question because the process of becoming a published author is very stressful because as some will tell you, trying to actually get something done is not easy.
Was that a dig? Because there's digs going on in the comments about me as well.
Well, just imagine this for a second. I've written the first book with Rob, but every word I've written is actually written with other people anyway. Because although people don't know that I've got PAs and I live on my own, um, they help me with dictate every word. So the traditional process that I've heard most authors say is that they don't let anybody see their work before it's published. But I will never get that luxury because every word will be seen by somebody. So it's a nightmare trying to marshal your thoughts, particularly when it's fictional, and you've got to reorganize your thoughts into grammar English when you're fully dyslexic and you can only just read a road sign. I couldn't tell you the directions to anywhere because my directions are crap. Yeah. Yeah, my level of reading is not very good, to be honest. It's just about manageable. So I'm amazed I've even got this far to even just finish the one book. Never mind be lining up 4 and 5. But yeah,
We actually met for the first time this week. Obviously, we've spoken a lot like this. We sit and talk on camera, and especially during the lockdowns, we'd have kind of there was a point where we were having 1 or 2 hours a week, just kind of sat having a chat, and to actually meet you in Harrogate and to go to your, well, that's where we met. We met at your official book launch.
yeah, we've
So
not.
we've obviously, it's a very strange thing, isn't it? Because I feel like we've met, we've been
Yeah,
friends for a long time now.
yeah, it's very surreal because we spoke for about an hour because Harrogate is that busy, we didn't really get much more than that, did we, in person?
No. Well, we didn't get a whole hour together at I've never moved so fast in my life. Honestly, the whole that I still can't process what actually happened last weekend.
No, it's
It
crazy.
was such a blur. But you had your book launch. There was a really nice bit in the book where you and Rob are having a conversation, and he said, I actually wrote it down. She says, "Oh, in the book, Rob says a return to Harrogate will bring this full circle for you, and obviously that's written a while ago. So now it has come full circle for you because you had your in-person launch in front of an audience in
Yeah.
Harrogate. I mean, what an achievement!"
Yeah, that's crazy. It was in front of 40 people, including the new head of the CWA Bassing College, and Mark Billingham, and several other big names, Trevor Wood, and yeah, they were in the audience. And he got Ellie Griffiths
I
asking
was
me
just going to
questions.
say, when are you going to mention Ellie? Because there's
Yeah,
a lot we can talk about with Ellie as well.
absolutely. Ellie is a massive friend to UK Clan Book Club,
Yeah.
and to me, because she was the first author which um, got in touch with me on social media through Twitter when I was reviewing her book CD by CD back in 2016.
And I learned something new about you from this book as well, that you started off with, you didn't start with fiction reviews. Do you want to tell us how you actually got started with reviews?
If I can remember what it says in the book, you know, to remind me.
Something to do with music and TV.
Oh yeah, uh, it was mainly TV reviews and stuff because I was watching a lot of TV programs, and
Mm.
I would literally review everything as like tissue paper. If it got anything to do with crime, I would literally, anything to do with crime would go on my Twitter feed, um, because before before I knew what I was doing with the blog, my first year of blogging had about four posts in total in it because I didn't really do it properly, and then it just went from there really. But yeah,
But Ellie's really special to you. Ellie Griffiths, for anyone who's been living under a rock, really special to you. So it was really apt that you and Rob, that you interviewed, obviously, Rob's heavily involved in the book as well, but Ellie was your first interview for the book.
yeah, and she was also my first interview on the UK Clan Book Club as well.
I
Um,
didn't remember that. I don't actually remember. No, I do remember who mine was.
yeah, it was Ellie Griffiths, and then there was, I believe it was Mark, might have been Mark Billingham on the same weekend, if I remember right, or
I'm not going scrolling through Twitter. It'd be like
no,
spinning the
no,
wheel of fortune wheel, wouldn't it? Going back and
we
back and back.
we haven't got time to do that, guys. Sorry. Yeah,
But you can go and watch the interviews on the UK Crime Book Club YouTube channel.
you can indeed. Yes, that was one of the things I was asked for with advice for one of the New Blood people that's going to be on my interview on my author page in a few weeks. They asked me about where I get my interviews from, and I pointed them to UK Crime Book Club's YouTube page and told them about interviewing Trevor, because what I'm going to be doing on my author page is spending the whole year interviewing other debuts. That's the idea.
It's a lovely idea, because New Blood is really your thing, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Every year I do go out of my way to make sure that I've read, if not all the New Blood, everything I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Debuts are really important to me because they teach me about where to go and what not to do, because debuts often make mistakes that other authors don't make yet. And if you can avoid those in your own debut writing, you'll have done well, because they all make the same mistakes.
I assume you've curated a list for us to look at. List of mistakes.
The list of mistakes may come in a post later. Once I come up with that might come up as a add-on to book 3, which is
I was kidding, but this is a great idea.
Because the add-on, because book 3 is a study of the crime genre with interviews of debuts and established authors. So I've got like Oren Actress and David Bishop doing the historical section for that book. And then I've got let me think. Yeah, this is book 3, so miles ahead. I've got Sarah Ward and one of Karen from Miranda's people, and we're talking about Gothic crimes. So it goes from one end of the scale to the other, because as Sam will tell you, we cover lots of genres on UK Crime Book Club. At least we did when I was still interviewing for you, because we get all kinds of different genres, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's all under the kind of crime umbrella, isn't it? There has to be something. But for example, the Storytellers by Karen McKinley comes to mind, which you wouldn't think would be a traditional crime novel, but Emma Christie had suggested that Karen got in touch with me. And there are elements, there's coercive control, and there's other things other than it being an outright murder fest, which we are a fan of. In books, we are a fan of outright murder fests. That's absolutely fine. But just some crime in there is enough for us as well. Yeah. It's a really broad subject, isn't it?
I believe that Karen McKinley one was your book 1 for 2022, wasn't it? I believe.
Yeah. Hold on. Actually, behind me.
Yeah.
It's like I prepared it earlier and I really didn't, but yeah. And do you know, it's not just a beautifully written book. It feels amazing. It's got a gorgeous cover. This is one of those books that was just such a pleasure.
Yeah, and it shows you that anybody can write, because Karen's a school teacher, isn't she? So yeah,
she was, yeah, and our head teacher, yeah. And didn't think she could do it. You know, inspired hundreds, maybe thousands of children, probably more than that, through her career, and didn't think she could do it, and then writes this gorgeous book. Yeah, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I mean, I love how quirky the genre can get. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You must have some favourite books as well that you've loved talking to authors about.
Well, it's got to be Stu Turton's The 7 Deaths of Eden Hart.
Oh, I thought you were going to say The Devil in the Dark Water, because you raved about that. That was your number one year.
Yes, it was. I mean,
that might have been the first year we did it.
It was. The Devil in the Dark Water was a brilliant book, but without 7 Deaths, and there were really weird angles that went to, because It's shows you that how long sometimes books can take to write, because Stuart is only on his second book, and I'm not sure when his third one's going to come out, but everyone's going to wait for it. But because they're so complicated and so convoluted, it takes a long time to come up with a plot.
I should be having a look at Alex. What is the best reaction that you have had to one of your difficult questions? That's Joe again.
The best reaction I've had to one of my difficult questions.
I like the fact that you're chuckling while you're thinking about it.
I'm chuckling while I'm thinking about it because I'm having to go through that many to try and remember it, Joe. Sorry. Yeah, it's the only ones I can actually remember are the ones that I've had to transcribe and reread, because Sam will probably have written down loads of questions to prep for your average interview. I don't know what your prep process is. But
pretty much that, yeah. Read, make notes while I'm reading, and then try and organise them into some sort of form, some sort of flow, so we don't get loads of sad and then loads of happy. We try and kind of blend it up a bit. But you are having to remember them.
Yeah,
and my memory, who are you again? My memory is shocking. I say that to my kids and you laugh more than they did. So
no, it's crazy because although I do generally have an arc what I might ask during an interview, I've got no idea what I'm going to ask from one question to the next question, because it all depends what the author said before.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, my questions are a reaction to what the author said. So trying to remember a question that a noticeable question that somebody's asked me. Sorry, Joe, but it's not possible.
You're going to sit up at 2:00 in the morning and shout a question.
Yeah.
Excuse me. No, I do write a lot of things down. However, I generally then completely ignore it throughout the interview. But if I've not prepared, I would panic. You know, it would be dreadful. I would ramble and waffle more than I usually do. So I think it's just having it kind of planned in my head and kind of in front of me, in case, you have one of those moments where your brain goes empty and you're like, no idea what that was, which, as you know, happens to me a lot.
It happens to me a lot, even when I've done it for my own books now, and it's you should see the 2-minute holes in the transcript where we're laughing about it and trying to get back to the book. Yeah, it's writing the books is very different, because I've had to make sure that I'm answering the question that the book is there for. Which isn't a problem with the first 3 books because of the nature of what they're about. But books 4 and 5 are psychological thrillers and police procedurals. So I've got to make sure that I'm covering all the angles and making sure that my questions are relevant.
Yeah.
And given the fact that I can't write them down, I'm not going to know until the book's finished how many times I've repeated myself and how long the book's going to be. It's going to be quite interesting to edit that down, and the other one as well, because trying to structure it to make sure that you answer the question that the book's actually about will be a whole new challenge for me, because I've never had to do that before. Yeah.
We should talk about your launch a little bit more. So you are published by Spellbound.
Yeah.
The lovely Samira and Nikki, and well, go ahead, talk about that.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a weird one. That was just before Harrogate. I didn't know what was going to happen with the launch. Then I got a surprise email from the people that run Harrogate saying, you asked about a launch, and sorry, we lost. Sorry. It just meant that it was a bit speeded up and stuff. We managed to organise the room and everything, and we managed to organise it all, but it logistically wasn't the easiest thing in the world because the publisher is print on demand. So in order to get the book like we've just got now, every time you want a book that's going to look like that, you have to ask the printers to print it, because Spellbound don't have their own printer. They've only got around 70 authors, and I've just broken, I think they said
50,000?
50,000 on the sales. I think that was last week or just before Harrogate, I believe that was.
Which is amazing because they're still fairly new.
Yeah.
You know, they've not been on for very long. 50,000 books is incredible.
Yeah,
what a milestone to achieve.
It is. I mean, thinking that just to do that with only 70 authors is some going, really. I mean,
yeah, it really is. And then they'd organised this lovely launch for you, and Craig Sisterston came and kind of gave an opening that at least he wasn't the one wearing mascara because my eyes were running. It was just the loveliest introduction. And we're all crying. You know, you'd gone, Craig had gone, I'd gone, half the audience had gone.
Yeah, thankfully I was quiet crying, but there was a few tears. But Craig had gone full blubber, so
I was right there with him.
Yeah, I mean it was rather surreal because I hadn't planned for Craig to do the intro. That was just completely off the cuff from both of us. But as Craig had done interviews in his own book, and that cross crime, if you want to look for it, and we also did an interview on UK Book Club, so you can find that on the YouTube channel.
You can go digging through YouTube, absolutely
go do that. The end sections of each chapter of his book had interviews in there, which gave me the idea for me to do that in book form, because at the time I think I'd done about 40 interviews on the UK Crime Book Club. We were doing end to festivals, and I thought, well, I started doing this, so I can give this a go. I mean, I never thought that my first book would be a book of interviews, because like most crime writers, I still want to do the traditional book, and I won't see myself as a fully blown writer until that novel is actually out there, because I think I'm cheating a little bit.
You know that thing you picked up and waved around before, Alex? That's your book. That's your debut. You are an actual author.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a shock, but yeah, to think that I could be waving around other books quite simple. And I've actually been invited to do a book festival in Birmingham already in November.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's just quite crazy. And also my local book festival at Newark are going to hopefully get me to do a panel there the following year. That was before the book was published. I was negotiating whether to do a panel with them, because they have Nick Quantrill and Louise Beach was there, and then we've got Vaseem Khan, and there's all sorts of people at the last Newark festival. Steph Broadrib and there was some others as well. It's just a nice little festival, but it covers loads of different genres, not just crime, but it has a large element of crime. Last year, when I missed it because I forgot it was even on.
Don't think you should admit that, Alex.
It's all right, they know. It's fine. I was quite miffed because Ellie there was Ellie Martin Edwards and I think it was Ellie Martin Edwards and the a friend that writes about the cleaner. I'm trying to think.
It'll come to you.
It'll come to me. She's written loads about a cleaner. I've interviewed her as well on UK Grand Book Club House. I did what I say now. Sorry, I know this is live. Shoot me.
We said there was going to be a bit of mayhem.
There always is. Yeah,
there always is.
It'll come to me before the end. It always was. They were doing a panel in Newark, and they've got these umbrellas hanging up in the air above. It's in a council building, and they're just like, it's a really nice building and loads of old features, and they've just got these umbrellas hanging at random above the thing. So I knew where it was, and I knew that, and I just saw these pictures and I thought, why aren't I there already? Because I saw them on social media, and I thought, it's a bit late to have seen that now because it's already gone. I was really embarrassed that that's going to happen all the time because of how busy we all are.
Why were you embarrassed?
Because I'm not busy. I should have realised, because I went the year before. I knew about it, and I went the year before, but it hadn't come into my head that it was on.
But as you say, it's not. It's impossible to keep up with everything. I learned that in Harrogate. That was. Did you come home as exhausted as I did? Obviously, I'm just clinging on to what's left of my voice.
Well,
my husband's ecstatic. I can't talk.
well,
he's really not. He's a very lovely man.
My first year was very hectic as well. That I went up. So to be honest, I'm jealous that you got to experience the first year again. Because for me, every time I go up there, I always have to do something else. Because I love Harrogate and I love the environment and I love everything. But every time you go, make sure you do something different, people, because you don't want it to go stale. I mean, it's never going to go stale for anybody that loves crime writing. But it costs a lot of money, and it isn't not everybody's going to be able to afford to go. So I always try and make as much every year that I go as I can, and I love being the judge for it now as well, because it gives me a emphasis for going, and I love to read the books, and I was really pleased for Mike that he won this year, knowing how much UK Crime Book Club.
Shall we see if I can do this without it being a disaster, shall we? I don't normally touch the books, however, I do know it's there.
You do know it's there.
Can I have a round of applause from the audience, please? There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
By M.W. Craven.
Yeah, with the honourable mention for Ellie as well.
He did. He's so lovely. And when Mike got up, and I watched his speech online because I wasn't there until the Friday, and when he said that he was sure it was Ellie's year this year, I sent him a message saying, "You are the Anton Deck of the awards." It's just those TV awards they've won. They won for over a decade. I don't know if they're still winning. I've not watched them for a while, but that was the first thing I thought of. He's the Anton Deck. Nobody's getting through at the minute.
No, it's just the way that Mike was so certain that he wasn't going to win in the queue for the tickets. He said he'd not prepped anything.
That paid off, didn't it?
I met him before the event. He was so certain that Ellie was going to win. It was I don't know. It already planned to Yeah, it's so certain that he wasn't going to win that he just hadn't planned anything. And I don't think, given the fact that Ellie had been nominated for, I think, the 4th year on the bounce, next to Mick Herron, that had been nominated 5 years on the bounce before he won. The year before, it was just, I think everybody assumed that it's going to be Ellie's year. Yeah, and you can understand why Mike thought it was going to be Ellie's year, because let's face it, who's got the confidence to write about lockdown the way Ellie did in that book?
We haven't talked about your short stories, actually, because alongside all of these brilliant interviews, and it is a really fascinating read, you've got, I've lost count in my head how many short stories are in this book.
I think it's about there's 11, so it'd be 11 short stories from me, but there's also a guest appearance from certain interviewer there.
But we're talking about you.
Not your short story, but I did do an interview with you in the book, didn't I?
We did, and I was thrilled to be asked. And when I read it back, I thought, oh my word, I really do just waffle nonsense, don't I? That is what I thought when I read my words back. Oh, I'm getting grief in the thing as well. You're bringing up the writing thing. I'm getting grief in the chat from Laura and Joe, I think it is. I'm not reading the comments out, but you get the gist of what I've been told to get on with. So
yes, yeah.
Should get on with that. But yeah, no, it was really lovely. It was really lovely to be interviewed. It's really strange though. I don't want to be sat where you are being interviewed because I waffle enough just asking the questions. Can you imagine the stuff that I'd come out with? My kids would disown me.
Yeah. The short stories.
The kids are used to it, actually.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, the kids are disown me. Yeah. I'm sure my mum and dad had disowned me at certain points. So, I mean, they haven't read the book yet because they're still waiting for the.
Are you worried about them reading any of the short stories?
Oh, no. It's all been overly sanitized. I mean, there's loads of stuff that I would love to have included, but you have to cross it out because you might get sued or whatever. Joking. not much.
Yeah, let's not get you sued, hey, Alex?
No, there's not that much at all. I mean, it's really surreal to think that it's actually done it. But the short stories were the hardest bit. They were actually started at my local Nottinghamshire writing group. And the first two short stories in there were read out by Rob at Noir at the Bar Online when I was invited on there because I needed somebody to read them out to me. So I asked Rob to do it, and that's one of the reasons that I ended up getting Rob to help me write the book, because at that point the book was still a random idea of random things, and all I got was the short stories. And only, I think, 3 of the short stories that are currently in that book had been written before, and one of them was for the UK Clan Book Club charity anthology. That is the one that ends the book.
In the Dark is your charity submission. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that was the one that you'd submitted.
Yeah, that's the charity submission. Yeah, because that was about the fact that, because I was openly admitting that didn't get into the book, which I'm not, you submit things.
Yeah, I've not connected the dots in my head, have I?
You submit things and they don't get in, but they're always going to get used at some point. So I thought, because I'm talking about the ups and downs of being a debut, I'll just put that at the end, because I worked on it a lot, and I just thought, even though it's the longest short story in the book, because the word count was longer than all the other short stories I put in there, I think it was important to acknowledge that occasionally it doesn't go the way you want it to go.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't imagine a more fitting story to end with.
Yeah, it just seemed to make sense, because it's even got the judging comments about why they didn't include it in there. Of course, I've left names out and stuff for privacy and things, but
yeah,
the judging comments about why it didn't make it and why it didn't win are in there, so the readers can see where mistakes happen.
Which is always really useful, isn't it? Because learning from each other is the best thing we can do.
It is. I mean, yeah, especially with short stories, because there's so little wriggle written with a short story. I mean, you know, because you've got one in there. I mean, they're not easy to write, are they?
They're not easy to write. And I was, do you remember us talking about this? I'd taken that year off work to write and then not written anything because it was lockdown. I just spent this wonderful time. I mean, it was horrendous. The world was awful. But I managed to get some really nice time with my kids. That obviously that's not something that, you know, you get back, is it? That kind of few months. And I've completely lost my train of thought.
We're talking about what going on during lockdown and relationships with your kids and things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've completely lost. I'm looking at the questions at the same time. My mind's gone absolutely blank. I don't know what story I just started. We were talking about. Honestly, this week my brain has gone to mush.
We were talking about you writing your short story during lockdown, because we're talking about.
Oh yeah, of course. So I'd been So it was I'd gone back to work after taking this year off to write, and then not. Joe's saying Alex does this to the ladies. So I'd had this year off. I'd gone back to work, and the first couple of days that I'd gone back, I was teaching. I was a teaching assistant, but I used to teach classes. I teach different lessons, and I got laryngitis because obviously I'd not spoken and projected my voice in that way for over a year. So right at the end of that was when I thought, right, I've got a couple of days left. I'm going to write a story. So I wrote something. It was absolutely awful. It was really awful. So I'm frantically looking through notebooks, and I found something that I'd been working on that I just kind of thought wasn't very good, and I'd put down, and then went to look through it, and I thought, right, okay. And then it just it must have been in the back of my mind for that whole year, because then it just worked. And then I spent 2 days editing it, and then because what else can you do when you've got 4 kids, a husband, and no voice? You write and you edit. You can't do anything else. Exactly. So that was really it was really interesting. I've just been. We've got a few more questions, and we've only got 10 minutes left. Malcolm Hollindrake said 50,000, amazing, congratulations. Well, that's obviously for Spellbound reaching their 50,000 book sales milestone.
Yeah,
it's just an incredible thing. And I think this is Malcolm as well asking, "Where's the cap?" Which is, can I do that? There you go. There, it's my granddad's hat. So my granddad Tom. He's like one of my favourite people on the planet, and I keep his hat around me because it just it's like having him around. Do you have anything like that? Do you have any kind of, I wouldn't say my cap's my lucky charm, it just makes me feel really good to know he's kind of still with me. Do you have things like that?
No, but I suppose you could say I've got it around me, or I've got it around me all the time, because the only reason that I'm actually living in a house of my own is because I rent from my mum and dad, from the money that they got after my granddad died. And if he hadn't died, they wouldn't have had the money to get me in the house I'm living in. So yeah, so it's around me all the time, even though there's nothing physical, he's there.
Yeah, and it's a nice thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because you know why you're there, because you wouldn't be there if they weren't around. Yeah.
So Malcolm's saying to Tom, so to Tom, Granddad Tom, What a lovely man. Couldn't have cared less about what I wanted to do. I think he thought that writing was a bit of I don't know. I don't really know. He just wasn't interested. It was really funny. I was like one day, like, yes, this is what I'm going to do with my life, Grandad. And he just kind of looked at me and went, right. And we're back to the horse racing.
Yeah. Okay. To be honest, I think that might well have been the mum and dad's reaction when I said I was going to do it as well.
Which was going to be my next question. How do they feel about it now you've done it?
I think my dad was amazed how many people turned up to relaunch. I mean, we just thought. I mean, I'd gone around the whole festival and was telling everybody that it was go ahead. The room had got room for but there's still 40 people turned up, and I just wasn't expecting it. It was just and the fact that mum and dad were going to come up and surprise me, and the only reason I knew that they were coming is because I needed to make sure they could get on the site. So I said I've got to get you these passes so you can get on, which is a good thing because they had the books with them at the time for the display and the festival. So if they hadn't turned up, it would have looked pretty silly.
I didn't know your mum and dad were there. What an opportunity I've missed to meet them.
Well, they were just hidden away between the other people that were there. Yeah.
Well, I walked in and Trevor Ward, Fiona Erskine, Sarah Blackburn, front row. They'd saved me a seat. It was really lovely. It's just, don't we have the best community? The crime community are just phenomenal. There's no other way to describe these amazing people that we get to work with every day.
We do. I mean, Fiona was so nice when I spoke to her in the Mick Allen launch. I mean, it was because we were there for the launch of his new book. It was a side event on the Friday, and I'd already invited her online anyway, but it's just like, when I saw her, it was just not so nice to talk to her about other things. And I've not managed to interview her yet, but I know at some point we're going to have to do that because going around the country won't be easy to do. But I'm hoping to get a tour that doesn't tour and get all the authors to come to the local Nottinghamshire water stations. When I see Steve Cavanagh and T.M. Logan there on the 2nd, I'm going to try and weed them away and become a monthly interviewer for them. But they don't know it's coming yet, but now they will.
Well, somebody's going to tell them. We'll keep it a secret, right, everyone? We won't let them know. Don't warn them that Alex is on his way.
It's just because because Luca Veste has got a book coming out in September, and he's already said that he's going to try and get the Nottinghamshire Watersons to let me be the interviewer for that. So that'll be rather surreal to be the first live interview going, because I've never done a live interview off a computer before. I've done it in the audience before, but I've never done a live one. I mean, you've got live ones coming up in the next couple of weeks, haven't you? Because you've got a panel that you're running in London.
I have. And seeing as you asked, I think I can answer. I'm thinking of the whole self-promo thing, but I am hosting a panel at Capital Crime in London. Now, Capital Crime was the first one at the first big festival that I went to last year. And I just walked around with this look of wonderment on my face the whole time. I was so thrilled. Mike Craven took a photo of me, which is my Twitter profile picture. I was sat talking to Io and Sean Cosby, S.A. Cosby. So it was the strangest thing. Just kind of sat, and I just felt like it was like this magical experience. I loved every minute. And I did the Golden Age interview last year, and this year I've got it at the side of me just because I keep referring to it for different things. Home is where the crime is, the locations and relationships that create the perfect domain for crime fiction. Kelly Taylor, Olivia Kane, and Katarina Diamond, Susie Holiday. I mean, that is just, I mean, Kelly Taylor, her books live here. There's always at least one on display because the little thing that I won, do you remember that little book sign I won at Kelly's, one of Kelly's launch events online?
Yeah.
So I said I'll always keep one book at least there. And Sleep is still, I love Kelly's books. I think Sleep is still my favourite.
Yeah.
So if you've not read that one, you need to. It's set on Rum in Scotland. It's beautiful. It's there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
Tell me what you have really enjoyed reading recently.
Well, it's got to be the one of the New Blood ones, Blindsighted, and she's going to be on the site in the middle of September. It was just such an interesting book because it was about a detective who had come back from after her husband had sadly died to come back to work, and she got started working with a robot, which is you're thinking really unusual, isn't it? I mean,
Definitely.
Speculative fiction is becoming bigger and bigger, and yeah, I just think that it's a really interesting concept, and just I could see why it was chosen by Val as a final New Blood because she sadly stepped down. I can't wait to see who else they've got to do that for next year. That'll be interesting.
Speculative fiction. We've got Sarah Moorhead has written The Treatment, which I'm really looking forward to reading. It's how do you find, we're talking about the balance between the books that we need to read for interviews, which we're really lucky at, aren't we, to have kind of, you're getting to choose who you interview and you're reading the books for them. What about the in-between books, the books where you think, right, I've got a few days here, this is the one I'm going to read? Are you managing to fit that in?
Sadly, no, but that will change within the next few weeks because the interviews I've got lined up for the books, because so far, as I've already said, I've got like a few weeks at which I can slot things in, but because I've got Bloody Scotland coming up, even though I've got reading for pleasure, I'll still be trying to read all the Davies and all the Bloody Scotland titles.
Yeah.
Because I can't stop reviewing, even though technically I've kind of partially hung up that part of my life, but I don't think I will ever hang it up. So
no, I don't think you will. And I think what you've done is you found a balance. There are lots of interviews when you're interviewing for the UK Crime Book Club, and it got to a point where the balance of it was just off kilter for you. And trying to do everything all at once was just, we know how it gets. It is a really busy thing, and you have to make choices about what's going to give, and none of the choices are easy, are there?
No, I think I'm going to enjoy the next few months where I've got time to read for pleasure in between. But there's that many books that I'll be reading. I mean, like I'll be reading Trevor Wood's new one, the Running Man. But because he was in my first book, it'll be a book that I wanted to read for pleasure. But it's also that'll be a book that will be also promoting my own book because I was speaking to him about his debut book in that chapter. So it's like you read related books to what you're doing, even though you're reading for pleasure. I mean, there'll be Steve Kavanagh's new one, and I'll be reading that. But one of the ones I'm really looking forward to reading is Laura Shepherd-Roberts' new one. But because it's 20 hours long, I'm going to have to leave myself a gap.
Yeah, you're going to need to book a week off, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to have a week off to read that one.
Week off and early nights for the cocoa.
Yeah. Is there any... Yeah.
No, go on. What were you going to say?
I was just going to ask you, is there anybody that you'd have a week off and read Nights for the Cocoa?
Oh, that's a good question. I've got so many books. I could build a fort. I could live in it.
Yeah.
Dave could kick me out. I could live in the garden in my books. I mean, I hope he doesn't. But, you know, actually, it's Manchester now. That there's too much water there. It's really hard, isn't it? Of all the questions that I should have known you were going to ask me, why am I not prepared for this one? There are so many. The thing is, what I generally do is, if there's a book I really want, I'll contact the author and I'll say, can I book you in for interview? So that, because the reading list, that's what it's like. It's insane. I will take the one that I'm really looking forward to reading. I dare try and touch my shelf. It's not crime fiction, but I've just read Tuesdays with Maury, which is a Mitch Albom book, and I'd wanted to read it for years. I started reading it, and then it was really enjoying it, read about a third of it, and then had to put it down for 18 months. So 18 months, Alex. I put the book down for 18 months, and then I finished it. But he's also written The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, which is just a gorgeous book. And then I bought it's either a prequel or sequel to that, which is called The Next Person You Meet in Heaven. And that's the one that I'm looking forward to reading when I get a break. But we're really lucky because all I really like to read is crime, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I love to do that. I mean, I just don't know what I'm going to do, because I actually started slowing down in order to read for my schedule, and I've got to the point now that I've got so many books in my TBR list that I could be reading until next Christ knows when. I mean,
There's just, I mean, there's no answer to this one, is there? It's that spinny thing. It's the wheel that we're on, the spinny thing.
Exactly.
This is what it's done to my brain. Okay, I have 2 final questions for you, because we have run a little over, and I'd apologise, but I really want to ask these 2 questions. And while I've got you here, in my I've got you in my grip. You're not going without answering these 2. It must feel like a wonderful thing to know that for anyone who reads your book, yes, they're going to learn about you and your story, but they're also going to learn about other authors that they might not have read before. That must be such a special thing, especially as a reviewer who loves crime fiction as much as you do. You know, to know that you are going to influence people picking up the books of the people that gave their time to you. That's such a special thing.
Yeah, it is. Over the 5 books I've got planned, there's over 50 authors that will be in print of my books. And there's the 3rd one's going to be really special because they're all debuts that I'd never read before. I mean, I'd read a couple of them for UK Crime Book Club interviews, and I just took them and, you know, I ended up putting them in the book because it worked.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just so nice to be able to interview people and introduce them to new authors. And when the 3rd book comes out and I've got those books, I'll just so nice to be able to introduce them to new people they've never read before. Although several of them have now, by the time that book comes out, they'll probably be on book 4 and 5, and they'll be really established, because books do take longer to come out on the publishing wheel than we'd all like to admit them to, sadly.
Even better, though, because by that point, when they come along to your book launch, well, yay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's even more support.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the idea behind that. I mean, you know, you've got advisors that are helping you out with your book, and with all these people that I end up talking to, I know that if I was to ask them anything, they'd help me out. I mean, I've got something with this to, I think, Imran Mahmood. I've not brought this up yet, but he helped me out with the legal side of a book because while I've been away, I've been on writing courses with the thing, and he was helping me out with the first 15, and I think it was first 1,500 words of me legal thriller I've been working on for 10 years. He's gone through it all, and yeah, that was good. Because Imran Ali's legal books are brilliant if you've not read them yet.
I haven't yet, and I didn't manage to get within 10 feet of him at Harrogate. I kept thinking, oh, he's there, I'll go and say it. No, that didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you call that? That machine, pinball. I was the pinball in the machine.
Yeah, it's really frustrating for me because he's one of the only people that I've never managed to do a live interview with him yet, and I've never actually met him face to face because I tried to meet him several years ago and ended up talking to his mate to try and get him to talk to me, but I pissed his mate off that much that his girlfriend was like, yeah. So,
I'm not going to ask. I'm not even dare going to ask what you did. What I am going to ask, final question for this evening. AJ Hawley, memorable moments for you so far as an author?
Well, for a start, it's choosing my author name for a start, because why did I decide to change it? And that's because I was trying to do me a little bit of Lee Child and make sure it ends up higher on the shelf. I'm trying to cheat a little bit. But deciding on AJ Hawley was a big deal because I just thought Hawley Review's been out there for a while, so I've got to stick with Hawley somewhere. But how do I choose the name? And it just came. I don't know whether it's going to work, because with the company being print on demand, it's only going to be in bookshelves when I can get the chance to get Watersons to print it and believe them, get them to buy it. Might take a while, but I'll get there. And with
like you said, you push it, you'll get wherever you want.
Yeah, and as I've just shared, the book is 500 and something pages, which is longer than I expected it to be, and it might mean that it needs more shelf space. But the third book is even bigger, and when I discovered that it was going to be that big, I thought I'm going to have to edit this down. Yeah,
518. I just checked my notes.
Yeah, it's a big stonker. And on that publishing shocker, I'm going to say thanks, Sam, for this great hour, and leave the guys to it, because they'll be wondering, why is he going over and over?
Thank you to everyone who's come along to celebrate what I didn't know until tonight was going to be Alex's first online video interview. Do we still say video? Am I of a certain age where video is still acceptable? I'm saying video. Yeah. We're going along with video. Yeah. But thank you. There's so many questions that we've not got to, but we have kind of touched on. And the audience have absolutely loved the hour as well. Thank you so much, Alex, for choosing me to come for an interview. Well, it's a really special thing when it's one of your friends and you're watching their success. It's just the most amazing thing. I'm so glad that I didn't chicken out of going to Harrogate for the second time in a row. And I actually went and I got to go to your launch. It's been really, really wonderful.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. It's really nice talking to you. And we'll be talking offline for years to come, I imagine.
So one of us falls asleep.
Yeah.